Hi everybody, Dan Illman, Matt Bernier. The only graded stakes race this weekend is at Churchill Downs. It is the Commonwealth turf. It's race number 10. Let's take a look at the field of 3-year-olds going 1 mile and a 16th on the weeds. We've got a field of 7. Matt, the number 7, Hot Springs, 2-1 on the morning line. Understandably so. Boy, this horse is a Churchill horse for course. 3 for 3 on this surface. Winner of the Jefferson Cup last time out. He got a beautiful trip in winning that race.
He certainly did. He also benefited a little bit from that pace scenario where Timeform US had all of the fractions color-coded red, and he sat about 2.5, 3 lengths off the pace, came with his run, and got the job done. I think you look at a horse like this, I think you expect to get an honest effort out of him. I don't know how much room there is for improvement. I know he's only raced 6 times, but I just kind of get the feeling that he is what he is. He's a mid-80, high-80 type of buyer kind of horse. And on any given day, that could be good enough to win. On a certain day, if somebody jumps up, he can be beaten. But I like the fact that he has that tactical speed. I think that outside post is beneficial, and you have to view him as a main player.
All your points are well taken. His last 5 races, buyers between 86, 89. If you're a fan of Hot Springs, you're hoping there's some additional improvement as he makes only his 7th lifetime start. Your point about his tactical speed also very well taken as well, because he has the ability to work out those kind of trips. He tried that in the Kent 3 starts back where he was saving grounds, and the trip just was a good one until it wasn't. And he was a little bit unlucky, I thought, to lose to Golden Brown that day. He made up for it last time out in the Jefferson Cup. Nice outside post. Probably ends up stalking the pace. The 4 March to the Arch is arguably the best closer in this field. He came from the back of the pack to finish 3rd in the Saranac, finishing ahead of your morning line favorite Hot Springs. Last time out in the Hill Prince, he came with another good solid run to finish 4th. That race flattered when the winner returned to run 2nd in the Twilight Derby last week with a 91 buyer.
Yeah, I mean, this is another horse that I feel like he fits in here very well. And there's a scenario, I think, anyway, where you go to that Saranac 2 starts back. If he runs that race, I'm not totally convinced that there's anyone else in this field capable of running a low to mid 90 really at this point in their career. The concern I have for a horse like this, when you look at it from a pace standpoint, I'm not totally convinced that they're going to throw it down early. He's going to be doing his running from the back of the pack. This distance might be a little on the sharp side for him. I feel like 1 mile and an 1/8 is probably slightly better. He obviously fits in here. I just do wonder if he's going to have a couple of things go work against him.
Turner Michael Maker has a couple in here. Let's begin with the 3 Sniper Kitten, winner of the Mystic Lake Derby, 3 starts back at 1 mile, then overmatched in the Grade 1 Secretariat 2 back, where I think that 85 buyer, that's pretty much the best he could do with the trip he got against those kind of horses. Now, last time out in the Caesar Stakes, I think you can look at it one of 2 ways. One, you could say that's a really disappointing performance to finish 6th of 8 against that kind of field. You can also look at it and say there's no pace, and he was 3 wide around both turns. How do you feel about Sniper Kitten?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Caesars was disappointing, but at the same time, I agree with what you're saying. I mean, you also factor in he was a heck of a lot closer to the pace than probably he wants to run. I think he's the kind of horse that you'd like to take him back and try to make one run, maybe from mid-pack. Look, on his best day, he can certainly win a race like this, but I also throw out there that Mystic Lake Derby going 3 starts back, I felt like he really kind of had everything go his way that day, as opposed to some of the other horses. Not saying he can't win in here. I don't know. I don't think he deserves to be anything too short in here. If you told me all of a sudden you get 7, 8 to 1 on him, I'd be interested. At 7 to 2, I'll pass.
I wonder if he's the kind of horse that really needs firm ground to do his best running. The last 2 races on good going, he just didn't kick. At least the Caesars has proven to be a fairly productive race, with that winner, Mr. Ritz, coming back to run 3rd in the Ontario Derby up at Woodbine with an 86 buyer speed figure. The other Maker horse has taken a big step up in class, and that's the number 5, Year of the Kitten, who was reclaimed by Maker out of a $50,000 race at Belmont. 2 starts back when he was in with Maker. Boy, it looked like Jose Ortiz had a head of steam on this horse. He advanced right into traffic on the turn. He had to alter course to the far outside. He came with a run. He might have been best, but it was a 50 claimer.
Yeah, that's really the problem, or I don't want to say the problem, but the question with this horse is he really this good? You look and see the company that he's kept. Certainly makes it look like he's a notch or 2 below everyone else in here, but I do find it fascinating. I know it's for different ownership, but the fact that Maker reclaims this horse and they go right into a stakes race with him, clearly he must think that there's something here. And also keep in mind, the run 3 starts back, that was his first start off of a little bit of a layoff, and perhaps Maker figured something out with him, because really those 2 races before he was taken, those were far and away the two best races of his career.
Let's take a look at the Timeform U.S. pace projector for this race, the Grade 3 Commonwealth Turf. Our friends at Timeform have the 2 Marzo out there on the early lead. He was a pace setter most recently in an off-the-turf race at Churchill Downs. He was content to sit 2 starts back at Keeneland, and I'm interested in your thoughts on that Keeneland race. I thought he had a great trip. I thought he had every chance to win it. He came up a little bit short, but it was the best race he ever ran. Do you think he makes the lead, or do you think Florent Geroux's going to get real aggressive with Re-Ride down towards the rail?
I think it's going to be a scenario where if Marzo is intent on the front, I think Re-Ride and Flo are going to take back and sit the pocket. If all of a sudden perhaps the connections of the two get a little bit, I don't want to say lackadaisical, but they just are sort of indifferent. If they can get it, great. If not, they're content sitting. Then I think Geroux's going to look at it and say, we have an opportunity. Let's grab the bull by the horns and just try to go from that inside post. Marzo, I think, is a little bit interesting. That run 2 starts back. I don't love the field that he was in against that day, but the winner heaven is waiting, came back and earned an 87 in that next start. And again, if you believe the pace projector, whether this horse is on the lead or if you flip the 1 and the 2, it's still a pretty darn good position to be in. I don't know that I love the horse, but I think you're going to get a very, very nice price on a horse that's not totally impossible.
Joe Sharp's got the 6-0 Gravity, another one going dirt to turf. He ran in that Dueling Grounds Derby 2 starts back. I won't hold that race against him. He was 70-1 that day. 4 back, he won at Canterbury, a maiden. He's just a little bit slow right now. He probably is going to have to run a lifetime best and have some things go his way. 8-1 to me seems actually kind of light.
Agreed. I think this should be the longest shot on the board, no disrespect to the connections. I just feel like it's a scenario where you look at the turf races thus far, I don't see one on his page at this point that really makes him a true threat in a race like this. And the fact that, to me, the best race he's ever run was that run most recently over a sloppy sealed main track in a 4-horse field. He just doesn't really do much for me.
Let's take a look at our top picks for the Grade 3 Commonwealth Turf, race number 10 at Churchill on Saturday. You like Re-Ride. You've always been a fan of Re-Ride. You're going to go back to that Mystic Lake Derby. Sniper Kitten beat him that day, but you didn't love the trip and ride.
No, well, I don't know that it was necessarily a poor ride. I just think it was circumstances that really, Vasquez, what was he going to do? Breaking from that post way out on the outside. That was his first start coming back since Dubai when they tried the UAE Derby. He was very wide. He was relatively close to a hot pace that day, and that's why I said that Sniper Kitten, I feel like he had all the best of it, and perhaps Re-Ride kind of had the worst of it, and I still thought he plugged on gamely. They tried the Jim Dandy on dirt, draw a line through that. Off of a layoff, he comes back in that Dueling Ground Derby at Kentucky Downs, 1 5/16 over that kind of turf course, draw a line through that. I don't think that's indicative. And then you've got a sloppy sealed track most recently. I know he lost at 1-2, but I'm not terribly concerned about that. I don't think the main track is really his forte. You get him back to the turf. If you get back to that Mystic Lake Derby, I think he's got a puncher's chance in here, and perhaps he floats up a little bit from that 4-1.
But I think you'd lock in that 4-1, considering his company lines and his tactical speed and the trip he's going to get. Give me numbers.
1-7-4 for me.
I think Hot Springs is going to work out a good trip in here, as he usually does, stalking on the outside. He loves Churchill Downs. It's really a sort of uninspired pick. He's going to be a relatively short price, but I'm going to go 7, 4, 2, and 3 in the Grade 3 Commonwealth Turf. The feature race at Churchill on Saturday has an approximate post time of 5:36 p.m. Best of luck.